Welcome to Larry's Library. This time, what I've got for you is the second Reckless book, Friend of the Devil. Now, this one is an original graphic novel. It's published by Image Comics. Its page count on it is another one that I got conflicting information about. On many sources listed as having 104 pages, and a couple other places it says 144 pages. But like a lot of modern collected editions, even though this isn't a collected edition, it's an original graphic novel, guess what? It has no page numbers. That's right. So thanks a lot, Image Comics, for not giving me any page numbers. One of my pet peeves, and here's a great example of why we need page numbers. Come on. Anyway, this one has a list price of $24.99. But as I like to say, don't be a chump. Don't pay that. Get it from a good discounter. My favorites are InStockTrades.com and CheapGraphicNovels.com, but there are others. And I got mine at IST, In Stock Trades, and it's still currently available as of the time of this shooting for $14.49. So that is a win-win situation. So this was originally published in 2021, but I didn't get it or read it early on because I was holding out for a nice oversized deluxe like a lot of other Ed Brubaker Sean Phillips things come in eventually. But alas, that hasn't happened. It's been several years and none of the Reckless series has come out in an oversized format. And, I think it was Sean Phillips said somewhere, it's been quoted as saying it's not ever going to come out in that format because he's quite happy with these nice standard size hardcovers for this series. So I finally reluctantly bought all 5 books, and you know what? I'm glad I did in a way because, man, it's a great read. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So as I already mentioned, the creators on this are Ed Brubaker writing, and his longtime partner on art, Sean Phillips, does the art, penciling and inking. And he did the painted cover as well, which is fabulous. Sean Phillips' son, Jacob Phillips, did the coloring, and the coloring is quite fabulous. No surprise there. Now, as I said, on the contents, this is an OGN, an original graphic novel. So this doesn't collect anything. This came out in this format, and so far, this is the only format we're going to have it in, as I mentioned, much to my chagrin. I should say, of course, you can quite easily read it in digital format. It's on a couple different platforms as I understand it. My buddy Elmo, my cousin Elmo specifically, he read it on his Kindle, on his Fire tablet with the Kindle app. So I know it's available in that format. So this is Reckless Book 2, although it doesn't say that anywhere because again, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, they've decided that these books should be standalone, and so theoretically you can read them in any order you want. You can just pick one and read it. But, I would rather read them in order because I think that context is everything sometimes, and I like to read the stuff in the order it was intended if I can. So I wish it had the volume number on the spine. That would be a great help to some people when they're trying to figure out if they want to buy them all and they want to read them all. Well, shouldn't you read them in the order they came out as? I mean, if you can. So I don't know. I think the number on the spine would be helpful, but I get it from a marketing aspect standpoint. You probably don't want to do that if you want people to just to be able to buy them and go. So but anyway, we'll get into that and a lot more when I bring in this conversation, the video of the conversation I had with my cousin Elmo about this book. And I'm going to roll that now, and then I'll come back with my summation. So check it out. We're back with my cousin Elmo again. He stopped by the library. We read Reckless Book 2. I'm going to call it that, even though Ed Brubaker refuses to put the number on the spine of where it belongs.
That is true.
But yeah, we read Friend of the Devil, the second Reckless book.
Yes.
And
in all of its electronic glory.
Yeah, there you go.
With a page number, location 2 of 140.
Damn. See, if something was going to drive me away from physical books, it might be page numbers.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt that too. You can't smell that. I mean,
that is, well, yeah, you don't want to smell this
plastic.
because I've had pizza and hot dogs and whatever else is on my fingers on this. Yeah, you don't want to smell it.
I liked it better than the first book, easily.
Yes, I agree.
And I love the first book.
I concur. I thought, so there were several things real quick.
Yeah.
One, you were 100% correct in the assumption that you could pick any one of these up and just run with it.
Yeah.
I was impressed of how little you had to know about Ethan in this book to enjoy this book.
I still feel like you would get a lot more out of it having that backstory that we have. You know?
Well, true, but the way they wrote this one, and I'm pretty sure we'll find out more in the next 3 if they're all pretty much like that. You got just enough that it didn't go, well, what the hell's going on? What? It's just, okay, this is what he used to do, and this is where he got his training.
Quick, without looking, what's his assistant's name? Is it Anna.
Anna.
I almost had it.
You were close. I was wondering if you were going to mess that up.
I have a problem with that because I love that character so much. I really like to see her. She gets to get into some action in this one.
Right.
A little bit.
And the thing is,
great.
he is still the main character of this book. You know, didn't you say last time that he wasn't going to be the main character?
No.
Or how did you put that? I forgot how you put that. But anyway, he ends up being the main character.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, but they are correct. You do not have to read the first one. Now, I like reading the first one because I like to have a full backstory of the main character.
Yeah. And Anna, for that matter.
Yes.
Yeah. We know a little bit about her already, and I think that helps inform what happens here. Mm-hmm. Somewhat, you know.
I would like to know more about her backstory, though, because there's not as.
I'm hoping we'll get into that a little more.
I hope so too, because she is the Robin to his Batman.
Yeah, for sure, and we get to see that here, where she does a little undercover work playing a IRS agent.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Which is really especially fantastic because it's so opposite her. She's sort of this very kind of tough as nails, kind of punker chick a little bit, and she would never ever be an IRS agent. You know that? No. So yeah, that was really great. I will cut out these awkward pauses, maybe.
Okay.
The story in this one gets into some dark cult stuff, which I really loved that.
Yes, and it's
and Nazis are the bad guys.
I was going to bring it up.
Yeah,
dude. When they said when they brought up the Nazis, I was like, oh yeah, there's going to be some ass whooping and killing going on here.
Yeah.
I hate Illinois Nazis.
Everybody likes to kill Nazis.
Yeah, it's the greatest. It's one of my favorite things to do with video games too. You know, is
kill Nazis.
Killing Nazis.
Right. Other than Nazis don't like killing Nazis. They probably get mad when they go, why is it always us?
You think so? You think there's got to be.
Yeah,
there's still Nazis.
I'm pretty sure they're playing Call of Duty somewhere, and then the
probably heavily modded.
Well, I don't know how you're going to cut the Nazis out with the zombies and stuff like that. You know.
I tell you what, though, I like this one better than the first one. I think I gave the first one 10 out of 10.
You did.
And I'm skipping way ahead here, but we could do it any way we want. I actually will give this 9 out of 10. And it makes me actually want to go back and re-rate the first one 9 out of 10. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the art. Now, I love Sean Phillips, but my criticism of the first book, I think, holds here. Because you can see it happening here. There's lots of it looks sort of sparse. You know, there are panels where, and it wouldn't bother me if I didn't already have a history with Sean Phillips and how great he is. You know,
right.
All the other stuff he's done, how detailed it is, how intricate. And then there's whole panels in here that are just very sketchy, very loose, and not detailed enough. Well, I know he's capable of the intense detail, so that it just, I can't help but think, man, if we had the older style Sean Phillips or the full blown, super detailed Sean Phillips, this panel would be twice as good. I keep thinking to myself,
I would say go to page 9, but you don't have page numbers.
I have no page numbers. But now, like this full page here, I think is great.
Yes.
I'll put a graphic up because this never works well, I don't think. But yeah, that is more like the old. And part of this is saved by Jacob Phillips, Sean Phillips' son's colors.
Stay on that page. Stay on that page.
Stay on that page. Okay.
Yeah. Now, and I'll show you real quick why I like.
Of course, now I've lost the page.
Of course you did.
I got it.
All right. So this page looks just like that.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Now, what I like about the digital part over the physical part is I can tap in.
Oh, and zoom in.
Right. And then it zooms in to where I can read.
Yeah.
I get a better read, but you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
get to see the whole picture until it zooms out. But when you go to a multi, like the next page over, right? So you got the multi panes, right?
Right.
I can concentrate just on.
Well, here.
Oh yeah. See now I can concentrate on just one pane at a time, and that's how I like to read it.
What app is that you're looking at?
It's the Kindle
That's the Kindle.
on the HD10. It's a shameless plug for Amazon. Like they need the money, but still. I was looking at that.
Is that the model I have? Because
Yes.
Oh, geez, it's so freaking slow.
I get it. I get it.
It's so slow.
I was looking at that Pixel video you sent me, and I'm trying to figure out if it's worth
$4.99.
If it's worth $4.99 for a YouTube app, because you don't get a YouTube app on this, where you would on the Pixel.
And hopefully it's faster than
breaking
that.
this. Well, that's true.
I mean, if you watch MKBHD's,
Well, I'm hoping
review,
somebody buys one. So
he's saying it's not exactly.
I'm hoping
lightning
somebody
fast.
buys one so that way I can take a look at it before I go spend my $500.
Yeah, that's just, gotcha.
I know you're hoping I spend $500 first before you go look, so you can look at it. I got it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I love everything about this, and this one is set in 1985.
Yes.
So we're advancing in time, and I cheated. Well, it's not a cheat, but I prepared. I'll get a little Post-it note.
Yeah, and you put the sticky on the paper.
Yeah, but it's fine. So
Okay. All right.
it's fine.
No residue?
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah, you're checking it out now, I see. There better not be no residue.
No, it's good. It's clean.
Okay. Okay.
These are good Post-it notes. But one thing that I had to note, you remember the part where he's investigating, he's looking for his girlfriend's sister
Yes.
who went to Hollywood and basically disappeared.
Wanted to be an actress.
All right. And as we know from the first book, Ethan lives in a movie theater that's defunct. But everything still works. He just lives there. And so he buys 16 millimeter prints, used, of random shit, often old TV shows and whatnot.
Right.
And he'll buy them in a box. And one of the things in it was a B movie that his girlfriend sees a bit of, and her missing sister is in a scene. So now he goes and talks to the guy he bought the film print from. So he goes to an old film shop, that has a bunch of films in there, and equipment, projectors and things. And his buddy works there. And he asked his buddy about the origin of that, where that come from and who produced it and all that, right? Did you catch the reference here where he says, oh yeah, Ross Norman's company. They were churning out B movies like this back then. No budget horror and car chase flicks. Ross Norman. He has to be talking about Roger Corman, right?
Right.
In real life. You remember Roger Corman?
Yeah.
Oh man, that really hit me with tons of memories and about Roger Corman. And if you don't know who Roger Corman is, just Google it. Google it or go on IMDb and check it out. He was known as the Schlockmeister for a long time.
Yes.
But he also did a surprising amount of really good things too, And I did not mark the other part though. I should have.
What
When he
page
goes
number?
to talk to he goes to talk to the lady at the casting agent lady.
Yes.
Yeah, and she talks about, what was the name? Ross Norman, a.k.a. Roger Corman, I think. And she says about the name of the company. What did she say it's called?
Shoot. Not quite for sure.
Or is it the film dude that says that? Let me look through this part. We can always cut some of this out if it takes too long. Okay, here it is. Yeah, it's the page before the one I just showed you.
Oh, okay.
Where he's looking through his Rolodex. And I bet a lot of people watching this are too young to know what a Rolodex is, right? And he says, you'll like Verna. That lady talks a lot of shit. And she knows everything that was going on at New Galaxy then. That was when the company was breaking up. So, New Galaxy. And the name of Roger Corman's first studio was New World Pictures.
Okay.
So New World becomes, in Ed Brubaker's story here, New Galaxy. So I thought that was really cool. And it also reminded me of how things were back in the 80s. You know, it seems like now with internet culture, everybody thinks they're a movie buff, you know. Right?
Oh, yes.
But I mean, you know, now if you need to know a fact about a film, you could just Google it or you can go on IMDb. But back in the 80s, if you wanted to be a film buff, you had to buy magazines like this, like Famous Monsters.
Famous Monsters.
If you wanted to know about, you know, 1930s horror or anything before your time, you know, you would check it out in something like this.
And other ones like this dealt with regular cinema.
Right, like here's, or you had to get into some super geeky stuff, like this copy of American Cinematographer I've got from 1984. And I used to buy these, which is really more of a trade magazine, really, you know,
right.
People that were in the trade. But I got it because I was such a Ghostbusters, fanatic. I seen it at the theater probably 12 times or better.
Well, it's easy when you buy one ticket and then you go to
stay
the
there for
bathroom.
three showings.
Right.
Yes.
And you go to the bathroom.
But that's why I got this American Cinematographer. And I've read that cover to cover, I don't know how many times, but alas, I never became a director.
I know.
I mean, maybe I am now, but anyone can be a director now, you know.
Well, you still got to put it's more of a one-man operation now for a lot of people because you got to do a whole lot of things. You do the film and then you got to do the editing. You got to make the sounds.
I say you got to, but you don't, because so many people don't edit shit. But I just can't stand that. You don't need to see me scratching my nose or scratching my ear
or your butt,
coughing, or my butt. You all don't need to see any of that. So,
or Miss Hobbit come in and bring you a cup of coffee.
So I am going to edit, you know, at least a little, you know. I mean, some things you got to leave in because I'm talking at the same time. I'm scratching my face here and I'm talking. But at any rate, I thought it brought back a lot of memories of, you know, how, I mean, you could go to the library. I mean, you could still do that, but not many people do, I don't think. But you could go to the library and check out books about, you know, cinema and whatnot.
Well, see, this brought me back to like when I was a kid, because even though they said it was 1985, it spanned the years from 77 to 85.
Especially as he's doing this investigation.
Correct. And it brought me back to when I was young, because my mom used to read True Detective magazines all the time.
Yeah.
And those little, you know, smaller paperbacks.
Digests and whatnot.
Digests about true crimes and stuff like that. And so when it hit certain areas in the book, I can still remember, I don't want to say giving spoilers away, but there were certain things in there that I can remember being in these magazines and digests and stuff like that. And I can still remember. And even though this is electronic, I still got the whiff of reading old magazines. It's got that paper smell, that certain smell that old magazines have and stuff like that. And I just thought it was very nostalgic and really enjoyed that. Yeah,
for sure. I'd say this book should have wide appeal. I mean, and it does. I mean, it's done really well. You know, it's done just great before I ever touched it. You know? But I mean, I could see this appealing to somebody that's 20 right now, and then guys in their 50s, you know, like we are, you know, because I mean, Ed Brubaker just knocks it out of the park. I mean, what can you say about him that hasn't already been said? Probably, maybe better. That's how I'm trying to say it. But yeah, so come to find out, and there's going to be spoilers here, but most people probably read this by now. So
Hopefully.
there'll be spoilers going forward, a little bit at least, maybe a lot. But yeah, we find out that his girlfriend's sister got involved with this terrible sort of, I guess, would it be fair to call it a satanic cult? I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they all had upside down crosses on and black hoods, But,
Oh, and I remember when that dominated the news back in the late 70s.
yeah, the satanic panic, they call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Phil Donahue had, all these talk shows like Phil Donahue. He had
Oh, yeah.
exposés, and it caused my parents, well, my mom specifically, I should say, it caused my mom to be trying to tell me I couldn't play Dungeons and Dragons anymore because she saw on Phil Donahue that was satanic. That was
Well, and you couldn't listen to
that was the
AC/DC.
devil's stuff.
Oh, yeah. I can remember being in church and they play AC/DC. This is the devil's music.
I mean, of course, I did not stop listening to AC/DC or playing Dungeons and Dragons, but that was a thing. And I don't know if you remember. I'll try to look it up and put something here of it. Yeah, in this general area. But do you remember Tom Hanks starred in a made-for-TV movie that was basically an attack on Dungeons and Dragons? I think it was called. Was it Mazes and Monsters? No, that's something.
I think the word maze was in there.
Yeah, Mazes something. Yeah. We'll put something up when I look it up. But it was ridiculous because he ended up. I think his character committed suicide because of stuff that happened in their role-playing game, which was thinly veiled version of D&D. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when kids were committing suicide because their character that they built up and everything bit the bullet, and they
or at least that was the premise.
That was the premise.
That was the popular
honestly, when things like that happen, it's because there's more of a mental illness.
Reasons. Yeah.
There, and then no sane person in the world would go, man, my 64th level character is dead.
Yeah.
I'm snapping into a Slim Jim.
It's the same story as it is now. Untreated, mental illness and problems related to that, and the stigma of no one wants to admit they have some kind of mental problems or issues, and
well, especially
the problem continues. It has started to get better, I think.
Well, thank goodness. Yeah. I watched my dad suffer from that stuff. Born in 1926, and men were told you have to hold that shit down, and they become alcoholics, and then that just adds and deals with that stuff, and then watch his struggle through his whole life. I'm glad to see that it doesn't have the stigma anymore that it did back in the 70s and 80s, and when men talk to other men and they seek help and stuff like that, they're not looked at as less of a man. And I'm glad to see that that's us being Gen Xers and stuff, and we grew up under boomers, and they're like, boy, what the hell? You be a man. You can put a beep in here. Don't be a like my dad always said. My pappy always said, boy, be a man, Well, Dad, my arm's broken and it's dangling. You'll be all right. I'll take you to the doctor in the morning. Yeah. Just shut up. Stuff. I digress. But
more spoilers. So, and then we find out that the head of that cult, this was the one of the greatest reveals.
This was a
frickin' what's the word for that? Well, he was a Nazi, but he was a Nazi from the war.
Yes, he was a war Nazi. Yeah. He was a war criminal.
But I think, and I started doing the math as soon as I seen that. Oh, man, that guy doesn't look old. So I started doing the math, but before I could do the math in my head, I'm not great at math. Ed Brubaker explains, well, he was a 25-year-old Nazi SS officer
towards the end of the war.
Toward the end of the war, and so I think that math works out.
Yeah, it makes him about 65.
Yeah, at that point.
Because that was only 77.
When all the events started happening there, yeah.
Yeah, that made him 55, and the artwork showed they looked a little bit older. And then you're talking about 7 more years. So
how great was it when Ethan nails him in the eyeball with that? What was it? A dagger?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
With a knife.
Yeah, gets him right in the eyeball. That was fantastic. Just loved it, man. And then, what you alluded to with the ending. Yeah. So major spoilers for the very end. So if you haven't read all of it, You might want to fast forward through this part. But not only does he take out the big bad Nazi, but which I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, explain it, because we find out that this girl, the missing girl, was killed for a snuff film produced by
She was
this
a
cult.
sacrifice.
Right.
She was a sacrifice.
And she did it willingly. I mean, they had obviously brainwashed her, but she wasn't fighting or screaming. She just laying there, letting
Right.
these people kill her, after they had butchered a dog, which was also very repulsive. But thankfully, that was off screen. So you people that are well, hell, I am. You're triggered by animal abuse.
Right.
You don't actually see that. So, so that's good. But anyway, yeah, so the dude was funding all of these activities by selling copies of these snuff films to rich perverts all over the globe,
Right.
ultra rich, right?
Yes.
Billionaires and stuff. So Ethan, he tracks down each and every copy of this 16 millimeter film. And what was it, like a dozen? Is that what they said?
I believe
10 or
so.
12. And I think he kills them all.
He kills every one of them. Overdose, car wreck,
Sets them up.
suicide.
Yep.
Just that's why I give it. The art is the art, and I didn't have a problem with the art in the last book. It was more some of the story, right? But to me, 10 for 10. 10 because it took me on that ride. Some of it I could see. All right, they got this cult thing. It's not just a sex thing. I know how the human mind works enough that you start getting darker and darker and darker as you go along. And then, okay, something's going to happen. This girl was murdered by the cult. I kind of figured that out kind of early.
Yeah, we got that.
But when come to find out he was a
Nazis,
Nazi,
yeah.
oh, I was like, oh, yep, we got
skinheads for henchmen.
Right. And then he turns around and then he finds where all these other people are, and then he hunts them down.
Right.
That was the nail on the
coffin. What
coffin.
was also really cool about the way Brubaker did this is he doesn't even show you him hunting them down. You see like one little splash scene. I'll put a graphic here where he's walking through the snow and you can see a car has impaled itself on a tree.
Yes.
That was one of the people he took out. But you don't actually see him do it. You just have the narration box where Ethan just casually says he did what he did. He has no regrets, and
I did what I had to do.
He's fine with it, and that was enough to get us charged up, and we're happy, even though we didn't have to see it. And I think there's a lesson there with some comic books and certainly some movies that you don't have to show all this stuff.
No, sometimes your mind is the best.
We got it all pictured in here,
Right.
just from the narration.
Right.
And you know what? I think you talked me into it.
What's that? You don't change it.
It's 10. This is 10 out of 10. I've got minor quibbles with the art because I know Sean Phillips can do better. But is that a reason to judge this particular book based on past performance? It's really not. It's really not fair. So no, this is 10 out of 10, just like I gave the last book 10 out of 10.
Right.
So,
and I'm looking forward to the next one.
yep. And we'll do it, right? I got your commitment to do the next one.
Oh, you got me.
Yep, so we'll meet again.
I'm going to be 3 in. Three
Okay.
more in.
All right, cool. We'll do it. And then I think we should do Night Fever after that.
Which one's Night Fever?
Night Fever just came out.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah, I have the hardcover. I'm not going to read
Well,
it.
I'm going to end up reading Criminal. Sorry, did not mean to say it like it. But I'm going to end up reading Kill or Be Killed. I'm going to end up reading Criminal. I know at some point I'm going to end up reading all of that.
You'll have to read all of them.
I'm going to, even though they're standalone. What about this Femme Fatale? What's it?
Oh, it's great.
Is it?
Oh, one thing I need to say real quick on the plot and the ending, more spoiler, but is, and they just casually sum all that up in about 3 pages.
Yes.
All of the killings he did. And I'm cool with it. And you're going to be cool with it too, as far as, is it possible? Because, we've established that he was trained as an FBI, right? So he's trained in all the covert stuff. He knows how to rig stuff. He knows how to evade things. It all works out.
Dude is being undercover and stuff like that.
Yep. He's got it all. I'm saying all of the puzzle pieces fit together. It's not like, oh yeah, how do you do that? Now, you get it.
And that's why. So when he talks about, when I worked for the FBI, you didn't really have to go into a whole lot of detail for his backstory. It was just like, okay, so this guy does this. This is what he used to do. Okay, that's good. You didn't really need the whole. That's why your assessment about it being, you can pick up any of them and run with it. That is 100% on the mark. I think after we read the first one, we didn't have to do this one, even though that's the second one that was written. We could have picked one of the other three.
I still contend it works much better.
Well, it probably does.
I wish we had a little too right here. You know.
You got a marker? I'll fix that for you. No,
well,
that's
you know, you say
easy.
that, but I did that to some of my Conan novels when I was a kid. Paperbacks.
I bet you regret that now, don't you?
Not really.
Oh, okay. You
I'll
still
show
got
you
them?
what I mean. They're out. Yeah, it's up there.
Oh,
it's out of camera view, but I'll show you later. But yeah, we better go because one thing, don't know how much battery I got, and I know you got to get back to your 2.5 job.
2.5 jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody
And
in
it
the
took
comments,
me-
you
dude,
seen what they said about you. Said
so-
you're going to have 3 jobs, which you keep getting wrapped up in. This book.
Probably. Well, I was. So you said, "Hey, we gonna do this?" Yes. All right. I'm off these days. Okay. And then time got by from me because I ended up working overtime because they finally had some at work, so I was able to go in there. And I thought, oh man, I forgot to get the book. So I got it. So last night I read like a third of it, and then today at lunch while I was at Sam's shoving a hot dog down my gullet, I'm sitting there going,
Yeah.
got it all done, read by 1 o'clock this afternoon.
I read it all last night, and I intended to read just like a quarter of it and then finish it today. And I was like, okay, I just need to read a little bit. I need to see what happens after that. And I went a little further, and I got about halfway through, and I'm like, okay, I better go to bed now. Nope, I got to go for it. And pretty soon I just read the whole thing.
Well, I would have.
That's what it does.
Well, I would have read it last night, but as I'm reading, this thing's not light. It's not a book.
Right.
So when I'm and I think, I'm like, oh, what? And after reading the same pain
You
4
really
times.
slammed that mic. I'm going to have to pull that way down.
Shoot, I'm sorry.
On the
I'm
audio.
sorry. Forgot about that being there. After doing that about 4 times and smashing my nose once, I was like, I need to go to bed because I read the same pain 4 times. So
Yeah.
it's time to go.
But that's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They're a master of plot and pulling you right through. So, yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
10
both
out of
of
10
us.
for me also.
Yep. So anybody that's still watching that hasn't read it already,
Hope we didn't ruin it for you.
you might have got a little spoiler, but get it anyway.
It's still worth the read. It is
Yep.
still worth the read. Y'all have a good day.
Yep. Okay, I hope you liked that visit with my cousin Elmo as much as I liked doing it. I thought it was a pretty good conversation, and we talked about some things. And as you've seen, we both give this one 10 out of 10. No regrets there. This was fantastic. It was a very fun ride. And if you like Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, their previous work, you're going to love this one. No reason not to pick it up. So yeah, this was an easy 10 out of 10 for me. And that's all I got this time. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up if you like this kind of stuff. If you like this material, come back for more. And I'll see you next time.